run out here today in Mugello. It's a disaster for him. I mean, really, beyond 16 here on home turf. He was in a comfortable third place, didn't have the pace to go with Roberts, but was under no real pressure from Conqueror directly behind him, thinking, I'm going to have that special taste, that special feeling of standing on the underway in Moto2 in Mugello in 2022. It's a really good start for pole position by Aaron Canet. He got a superb launch away. Salvos cuts right across the track, trying to close the inside line down to San Donato. Here comes Pedro Acosta though, the rookie sensation on the inside of Canet, down into San Donato for the first time, and Acosta gets the whole shot. He leads here in Mugello.
Not a good start for Celestino Vietti, the World Championship leader from the second row, went backwards, and then he got swallowed up under braking for turn one. San Donato holding him up, went steaming up the inside, and Vietti looks as if he's finding himself right back in the pack. He's in amongst the Aspar riders.
Might be a close call there, making sure there's contact between Dixon and Tiampasini there, the rock guy. Dixon, a superb start for Joe Roberts as well. He's already picked up a couple of places. He started in 7th place, got himself in the top 6 early on here. Aguirre's gone the wrong way there on the 79 bike.
So Arbolino has made a good start. He's through into 4th as his teammate Sam Lowe's immediately goes on the attack through Casanova Sinelli. He swoops underneath. Aaron Canet up into 2nd place. Lowe's was one of the riders that was feared the most amongst these Moto2 riders. When they looked at the race pace, they all looked towards Sam Lowe's. Pedro Acosta will now have the grip for company at the front very shortly.
And Joe Roberts has been very aggressive at the start of this Grand Prix. He got Aguirre down to LBR to move into 5th place, but especially when he this race 1 year ago. Joe Roberts thought he was on the podium and got pushed back to 4th, having exceeded the track limit on the very last lap. So he goes good around the Mugello circuit into California. There he is in P5.
So notice Vietti getting a poor start. He's back in 10th at the moment. He's just behind Jake Dixon, who's held his 9th position off the line. In fact, Dixon looked like he was a little bit wide there, coming out of the current tyre. I think Vietti has indeed moved up into 9th position. So Celestino Vietti, who's made a bit of a habit in recent races of salvaging a result from a pretty poor grid position, he looks like he's going to try and salvage a result from a poor start this time.
Not sure, Tony. Oh, that's Joe Roberts. That's beautiful. What a time to ride on board with Tony Arbolino as he gets his pocket picked well and truly by Joe Roberts. That was a lovely move by Roberts. Done a superb first lap. Roberts started 7th. He was briefly in the 4th. He's going to lose the slipstream over to Arbolino. Over the line they come at the end of the first lap. Pedro Acosta leads just as he did 2 weeks ago in the Monaco course from pole position. It all went horribly wrong a few laps later when he crashed out at La Chapelle. That gifted Augusto Fernandez his first win since Mazzano in 2019, but Acosta really is starting to find his feet in this Moto2 World Championship, isn't he? He carved through the record books last year in Moto3. That looked like Passini was trying to find a way to an Aldeguer then back down the number 11 bike. No way through, but Passini aggressive as always.
So a couple of riders further back out to position on the grid have made good progress. As you can see left hand side of your screen, Cameron Beaubier up 7 spots into 11th, and Somkiat Chantra, who was the rider most out of position, he's now up into 17th. 7 spots gained for him as Canet regained 2nd from Sam Lowe's through Casanova Sinelli.
Pedro Acosta's advantage. Canet has got through on Sam Lowe's then on this second lap. Joe Roberts, he's had a really good first lap. This is where he wanted to be. He wanted to capitalise on that 7th place start, be aggressive, pick up places early on. Aldeguer has been dropped off this league group for 5 actually quite early on here. Not by a great deal, but it just looks like early on here on that full fuel tank with the new tyres. Aldeguer just doesn't quite have the pace of the 5 men directly ahead of him.
Just trying to keep an eye on Celestino Vietti. Here he is. This is the live situation at the moment. It would be Canet who did a big gainer in the World Championship. He moved to within 6 points of Celestino Vietti in the lead of the World Championship after that brilliant start of the season that Vietti had, winning 2 of the first 3 Grand Prix. He's jets a cooled a bit since then. He's not quite shown the same form lately, but back in 9th position, there's still an awful long way to go. 20 laps remain, 19 as they cross the line this time around. Vietti though will not want to see that gap opening up between the leading group and Aldeguer, who's leading that chasing pack. And Vietti looks like he's evading under pressure from Jake Dixon as they come down the main straight.
So still Pedro Acosta that leads. Aaron Canet though directly behind him is the fastest man on the circuit with a 1:52.356. Arbolino striking on the inside of his Marvidas racing teammate Sam Lowe's. Beautifully done there on the brakes. He just squeezed the inside line there with the Arbolino. There's no way that Sam Lowe's could turn in going into San Donato. So it's been an excellent first couple laps as well for the former Moto3 racer. Sam Lowe's gives him payback straight away. Instant retaliation meted out by the British rider. These two got to be careful though here, because while they scrap it out and battle it out for 3rd place, this is just giving Acosta and Canet, the 2 Spaniards ahead of them, a chance to make a bit of a break here at the front.
Certainly no team strategy going on at Martin yet, is there, in this early stage? It's every rider for themselves. This was where Arbolino was pretty quick last time around, but no way through his teammate. He'd be very brave moving against your teammate in the middle of Casanova and Savelli, so Arbolino leading duo, the two Spaniards out front, Costa and Canet, they've got half a second of an advantage now over.
Big mistake, sorry Lewis. There was a big moment there for Acosta coming over Aldeguer to 2. It got it all out of shape on the power. Big moment for Pedro Acosta. He had a couple of those before he crashed in Le Mans a couple of weeks ago. That's allowed Aldeguer to sweep on through down into Prix. Didn't have to work really for that move. It was the mistake of Acosta coming over that blind crest for Aldeguer to 2. That was proper heart in the mouth stuff for the rookie.
So on board with Aaron Canet then, who now leads Pedro Acosta. Acosta, of course, just needs to start seeing some checkered flags, doesn't he, in 2022. He's shown on so many occasions the pace he undoubtedly has when he's battling at the front. He's just not getting that right to the finish. Here he is then on the exit around the attitude, gets a little bit wide up over the cutout, so very nearly loses it. Did very well to stay on board. He's replicating IL Calix and slotting in behind Connect. Oh, now we're across the green room. Still an awful long way to go, and very important, as I mentioned, Pim, to try and get some points on the board.
Yeah, on board here with Connect. You'll see this moment for that was maybe slipping out of the curves, maybe coming out of the Arta there, wasn't it? As Tony Arbolino again fires his Calix Yati up the inside of Sam Lowe's. They're good mates actually off circuit, aren't they? The two Mark Meader's racing teammates. But at the moment, as Joe Roberts is trying to find a way through. No way through. Lowe's closing down here as they drop now down towards Casanova and Savoli. This is the second of the chicanes before you come into that fast downhill section. And now Aldeguer pinches a place back, could be protected from Joe Roberts. Good battle racing in between the American and the Japanese rider. They're side by side now as they drop down towards Casanova and Savoli. Will be advantage Aguirre. He comes out the better of that little melee with Roberts.
And Piscini's next stop, of course, the wild card on the Spa machine. He's sticking around with these leading riders at the moment. He's got Navarro and Vietti just behind him. Vietti's still struggling to make any progress. He's not exactly flying all over the back of Navarro just behind him. And this was the main straight last time around. This is the battle for the lead. What to see there, wasn't there, as Acosta was leading from Aaron Canet. Was the battle last time around was just behind them. And the two Mark Vignes riders went side by side into turn one. But a bit of a gap between this leading four and Aguirre in fifth. But Aguirre certainly looks now as if he's beginning his march forwards after a pretty decent opening few laps.
Yeah, you always get the impression with Aldeguer, if he can keep himself in early contention once that fuel load starts to lighten and once the tyres start to come to him, and he's really good on worn tyres. Now we expect to see the Aguirre charge towards the podium battle. A 1:52.553 on the previous lap was his best of the race so far. In doing so, he's found a way through on this cold lap through on Joe Roberts, who runs a real wide line going through turn number 15, maybe trying to set up for a good exit to pick up some slipstream here behind the Japanese rider directly ahead of him. So hard though, the slipstream here in Mugello, when everything's all so equal. They're all identical Triumph 7653 cylinder engines. So the slipstream less of a factor here in Moto2.
So Vietti has now gained a spot. He is now past Ollie Navarro, like Cameron Bogner is also shaping up to make a move on the Flexbox rider into San Donato. I think he's just behind him at the moment. Here is the battle for fifth position. Then Joe Roberts back ahead of Aldeguer in the battle for fifth. And here is Jake Dixon, who's at the back of this leading group. It's 11 riders away at the front. In fact, call that 12, because Alonso Lopez is tagging on as well in P12.
Yeah, just behind Lopez and Aldeguer in 13. But the points been placed and completed right now by Chantra and Aldeguer. Chantra's been really strong in the opening part of this Mugello Grand Prix. He started 24th. He's picked up 10 places then, the time ride, to get himself a couple of points so far. Obviously the main objective, when we heard from Hiroshi Oyama pre-race for both Aguirre and Chantra, was whatever happens, just see the checkered flag. We need to start building up some big championship points. At the moment with Aguirre still ahead of series leader Chelsea and Vietti. He'll be reducing that deficit before we head to round in Barcelona. Loads again on the inside of Arbolino into Prix. I've already lost count. We're only on lap 5. The amount of overtakes that Lowe's and Arbolino have exchanged. Yellow flags are out and he's sector 3. Something gone down going in to Prix in turn number 10.
And Chantra, I think Chantra's dropping down the tiny screen. So after a great first few laps of the Grand Prix, 5 laps of progress for Somkiat Chantra. Unfortunately, his record for every race he finishes on the podium continues, because he's not finishing this one.
And when he stays upright, he's absolutely one of the fastest riders in the Moto2 World Championship this year. The problem is he's not upright often enough, is he? That's the second crash of the weekend for Chantra. A confidence-draining crash at Aldeguer 2 on Friday morning, as you mentioned, in FP1, and then down in 24th place on the grid. All that hard work to recover 10th place already has been undone. Chantra in the gravel again. At the front though, it's Pedro Acosta that leads. Sam Lowe's and Joe Roberts have found some good speed on that fifth lap. They've just both set their personal best laps of the Grand Prix. In fact, Sam Lowe's 1:52.716. Joe Roberts is the quickest on the circuit circuit right now, looking really strong in 5th place. The winner of that 7-lap dash for cash in Portimao a few weeks ago.
So there's a bit of a gap opening up now, 9/10 of a second behind Aldeguer, but crucially it's Celestino Vietti. You can just see him in the back of the picture. He's now at the front of that chasing group. Vietti got past Matteo Pessini into San Donato, so the World Championship leader knows he needs to get on with this. As you can see, the live standings, his lead will be down to 8 points over Aaron Canet. Vietti certainly an improved weekend this time round after he struggled really throughout at Le Mans. So can Vietti now latch himself onto the front of this leading group?
Yeah, Pessini, the wild card, is just starting to go the wrong way here. As well, you just wonder whether there's perhaps a little bit too much ring rustiness affecting Pessini. This is his first Grand Prix in nearly 2 years. There's another head shake there coming over Arabiata 2 for Aaron Canet. Not quite as severe as the moment that Costa the lead a few laps ago. Costa didn't take too long though to regain that advantage in the front, did he? And he's still absorbing all the pressure at the moment coming from Canet. Lowe's there in third still. There's Arbolino, Roberts and Agura. Vietti is just starting to make that decisive break away from some aggressive riders behind him, including Pessini, Navarro, Bodier and Dixon.
So looking at Vietti's lap times on this lap, he's not getting too close at the moment. He's kind of holding that 8/10 of a second gap to Aldeguer up ahead of him. Then this is the overhead shot then of Puccini, the final corner. So important to get a good run out of this corner. Once again, Joe Roberts loves that wider line, doesn't he, to try and get the run onto the main straight. It almost fakes you into thinking that Agura is trying to go inside of him. That's just the line that Joe Roberts seems to prefer as he goes through Puccini to get that late apex and get the slingshot down the main straight. But it doesn't appear to have worked because Aldeguer is driving alongside him there. He's on the outside, but he's going to be able to pull him through before they arrive on the braking zone. And the two MotoGP teammates going side by side as well. It looks like Arbolino has regained third once again.
Yeah, Arbolino back up the inside of Sam Lowe's then into San Donato. Likewise, Aldeguer uses some slipstream behind Joe Roberts to get himself back into that 5th place. Now then, Sam Lowe's again, that's successive laps now. He's dropped his pace. Lowe's coming off the worst of it because he got chopped into the gravel trap with Arbolino's aggression. It's a war between those two next weekend in Barcelona. But later on then here, Lowe's put out of the Grand Prix when he was fighting for 5th place by his teammate Tony Arbolino. There's a long lap penalty and poor old Celestino Vietti. How cruel can it be? On course for a home podium and a technical problem rules him out.
Huge dramatic 19th lap then of this Grand Prix. That leaves Joe Roberts safe enough in second place. Aldeguer way behind. He looks like he's settling for third place, but of course 16 points on offer for Aldeguer at the moment. He would move level, as you say, with Celestino Vietti at the head of the championship. Vietti would still lead it, of course, with his 2 victories to Agura's 1. But how the situation has turned on its head with just over a lap and a half to go.
Well, you might say that Celestino Vietti had a rather fortuitous podium in Portimao a few weeks ago when he was one of the only top men in that Grand Prix that didn't go down on those rain spots in turn number 2. He was able to make the 7-lap restart and finish second place. Any luck that he had in Portimao has completely run out here today in Mugello. It's a disaster for him. I mean, really, the off 16 here on home turn. He was in a comfortable third place. Didn't have the pace to go with Roberts, but was under no real pressure from Agura directly behind him, thinking, I'm going to have that special taste, that special feeling of standing on the podium in front of my home crowd here in Mugello, increase my World Championship lead. But he goes out. Arbolino's got the message very, very quickly. He sweeps into the long lap penalty loop after the controversial clash with his teammate Sam Lowe's. He will come back on into 4th place, so it didn't actually cost him a position, that penalty. Starts to put forward some potential up there, happened to Vietti.
Yeah, just watching him, it looked like the bike was still running. He pulled the clutch in, he had no drive, so most likely something drivetrain-wise, and the most likely is a chain, you know, because the trials haven't broken. I haven't heard anything all year, so most likely to me is something chain or sprockets.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. No drivetrain, that would drive Celestino Vietti crazy, unfortunately. Crawling the extreme to miss out on the home podium so late on. On the last lap though here in Mugello, it's been another dramatic race here so far in round 8 of this year's World Championship. At the moment, Pedro Acosta, well, he's coasting towards a famous victory, down towards Casanova and Tabelli. He resisted all that early race pressure from Aaron Canet. Now then, Sam Lowe's has just got his time for cool heads down in El Marvidas race. You can understand totally why he's so bitterly frustrated. It's the unwritten rule, isn't it? When you're fighting with your teammate, you've got to keep it clean. Tony Arbolino, his day's getting even worse. He's going to incur the wrath of team management and Sam Lowe's when he gets back to pit lane. He's just lost 4th place to Augusto Fernandez. That's a really good rescue job, actually, to be fair to him, by the number 37, because for a the first part of this Grand Prix for Fernandez was nowhere. Way down in 14th place, he's come charging through. He might salvage 13 points here.
Aldeguer back through now on Augusto Fernandez, so that battle looks like it's going to go all the way down to the wire. We've seen on Grand Prix how good Aldeguer is on the run out of Prix to the final corner, so Augusto Fernandez is going to have him for company on the run to the line. But this is one Red Bull KTM Alex is not going to have any company on the run to the finish line here. Just the Biondeti chicane to go between Pedro Acosta and intermediate class history.
Here he comes on the number 51 machine. He's been absolutely superb throughout this Grand Prix. Started in second behind fellow Spaniard Aaron Canet. He led right from the very first corner. It's been picture perfect here for Pedro in Mugello. He comes out of the final corner. A sweet moment for Pedro Acosta. History is made, ladies and gentlemen, in the Moto2 World Championship. Pedro Acosta becomes the youngest rider to win a Grand Prix in the Intermediate World Championship category. Congratulations to him.